Hi everybody, I hope this is connected. So a quick recap of what we've done so far. It is the Jewish month of Elul, which is a time of change, and it's really a powerful and exciting time. And I'm really excited to share with you these steps of our epic spiritual fitness journey. I call it a spiritual fitness journey because or a spiritual fitness plan, because people take their fitness plans so seriously. When they're doing it right, they get their mind, body, and soul on board with their fitness plan. And I thought, if we can pay that kind of attention to detail with our spiritual plan, how well off would we be? So I call this the Epic Spiritual Fitness Plan, and we're doing a step a day. I had to combine Friday with Thursday because Fridays we prepare for Shabbat, and I had to combine Saturday with Sunday because on Shabbat I can't record. So this is going to have two different steps. I'm also going to include as a special bonus this week's grocery list and menu and recipes that helped me lose over 15 pounds, which is definitely for me a spiritual accomplishment as much as it is a physical one. So, okay, first of all, let's just recap. The first step was to feel the pain, not to get complacent. Don't let yourself think everything's fine. It's not fine. You can pinpoint where you need to grow and feel that pain. The second thing is to audit yourself, to really inspect yourself with honesty and to consult with other people if need be to get that kind of honest feedback. The third thing we talked about was to commit to something by actually doing. It's not good enough that we're going to sit here talking about it. We actually have to do something when the telephone or the camera or the computer is closed. And then the last thing that we spoke about was creating our vision. And I shared with you some ideas, including if you think about your role models who have certain attributes that you really wish you had, to really think about them and like dwell on them, meditate on them for a little bit. And I showed you my vision board from last year. That really helped me kind of stay on track. Also, I know someone who parks her treadmill in front of her vision board, so she feels like she's running towards her vision board all year long. Okay, so now we're up to step 5. This is serious clarity and inspiration time. I'm really excited to share this step with you. If you know sales, anything about sales, this is what they call handling objections. Like when somebody is trying to sell you something and you're explaining to them why it is that you're not going to be able to buy it, so they have a response for everything that you say. You need to be your own salesperson, right? Like if you want to accomplish something and you're giving yourself all the reasons why you can't do it, you need to be able to sell yourself on doing it. So this step is actually really powerful and has really helped me a lot. So usually one massive excuse that we give ourselves is, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, and I don't have the energy, one of the above, or all of the above. In my case, all of the above. I don't have the time, I don't have the money, and I don't have the energy to accomplish what I want to accomplish. So there's this woman, her name's Laura Vanderkam, and she's a time management expert, and she addresses all of it by sharing this story about a woman, and even though it's a real story, it's actually a universal story in truth. A woman who is super busy and highly scheduled, and one day she wakes up in the house that she owns, and what does she see? Her water heater is broken, and it's done serious damage to her house. And you can imagine the kind of damage that you cannot wait on. It has to be dealt with immediately. She had to spend 7 hours that day calling up handymen and dealing with this issue until it was resolved 7 hours later. So it took her most of a typical work day to handle this water heater. So how did she find time for it? I thought that she was so busy and so highly scheduled. The answer is she is highly scheduled and busy, but when you need to accomplish something, when you absolutely have to, when it's priority for you, you find the time. No matter what it is, if it's the water heater, if it's a health thing, if it's a medical thing, God forbid, we find the time when it's that important to us. And Laura Vanderkam, this time management lady, also talked about this interview she did on the busiest woman that she could possibly find. And she calls up to talk about when they're going to schedule the meeting, the interview. And of course, the secretary answers and says that this woman is too busy to talk on the phone. And Laura said, I guess she wasn't surprised, but then the woman called her back and said, I'm so sorry, I was just on a hike. And she said, wait a second, I was thinking you were either in this big board meeting or you were on one of your committees. You were on a hike? Like you have time to go on hikes? And she said, my time is exactly what I want it to be. I get to choose, and we get to choose how we spend our time. We make those priorities. And some of those priorities, if you don't do it, of course, there's dire consequences, and some of them are less enjoyable than others. But if you choose to spend your time on something, that is your priority. I think it was Golda Meir who said, show me your checkbook and I'll tell you what your priorities are. The same is true for our time. So this hiking lady is a really, had this real clarity on what is important to her and how she was going to spend her time. Rabbi Noah Weinberg of blessed memory, he said that killing time is like suicide on the installment plan. And if you know the gargantuan things that he has accomplished with his life, this man knew that he was not going to live forever. He wasted no time and accomplished tremendous, tremendous amounts. If you ever go on aish.com, a wonderful website, aish.com, there's Rabbi Shraga Simmons. He writes an article where he quotes one of the greatest people who have lived in our generation, named Rabbi Chaim Pinchas Scheinberg, and he says that he heard him say that a watch is so different from other pieces of jewelry. You know, typically you see like a ring and you put the diamond, the most valuable thing on the jewelry, in the middle, and then you have around it the smaller secondary things that are of importance. With a watch, it's quite the opposite. With a watch, you just have some springs in the middle, and all around the watch is the beautiful ornamental diamonds and gems. And that's going to be a value and a lesson to us, because nothing is more valuable than time. And that's what's inside those diamonds. And that's much more important than diamonds, and much more valuable than diamonds is our time. So here comes the most epic question that I think kind of like, if you get, this is like the most valuable question you can ask yourself of all time, of the entire fitness plan. So this is one of those things that if you're going to watch one thing, it's this. The epic question is, what if you had this year, this Jewish year, the most unbelievable year of your life? I want you to fast forward in a year from now. Let's say you're giving yourself a performance review, and you can look at it in both a professional way and a personal way, the way you relate to others, the way you handle yourself, the way you connect with the one that is greater than us, and however you define that, that's up to you. But the idea is, all these areas, you're giving yourself a performance review. You've had the most amazing year you have ever had. What 3 to 5 things did you accomplish this year? If you just take a second and really think about it, what are the 3 to 5 things in a professional and a personal level, relationships, yourself, you know, between you and God, everything, what are the most important 3 to 5 critical things did you do this year that without which you wouldn't have been able to say you had the most amazing year, okay? Let's say you say, I want to run a 5K, or I want to write a book, or it could be something else, like I want to become a more empathetic person. Whatever that is, you need to utilize your time to get it done every single day, every single week, every month of every year. That is your priority. You know, a friend of mine just booked her ticket to Italy, and she said she just finally wanted to seize the moment and just go to Italy. Like, she just took it. It was her time and she took it, and I was really proud of her for doing that. We have time. This is our lives. This is the only life I'm going to live, and I need to use my time wisely. Whatever those 3 to 5 things are, do not let them go. They are yours. They are precious to you. Without them, you are not going to have the most amazing year possible. So allow yourself to treat those 3 to 5 things or 6 things, whatever you create, as priority. Those things are your water heater. Nothing comes in front of those things. It's only the first thing that you're going to schedule in are those 3 to 5 priorities that you have when you sit down, let's say on a Sunday, and you schedule your week. So that is such a powerful thing to me. I find, like, thinking about it in those terms, like, I need to treat those goals as a priority more important than anything else, because without them, I'm not going to have the year that I want to have. You know, there are 168 hours in a week. It's a lot of time, 168 hours. I do have young children at home, and I do work a full-time job. And even with that, I mean, think about it. 8 hours of sleep you need a day, a night, and who really gets that? But okay, let's just say you do. Plus 8 hours of work a day. So you're looking at still 112 hours left of your week. How are you going to fill up 112 hours? That's a ton of time. And I'll bet those 3 to 5 things on your list don't require 112 hours in your week to accomplish. They require a fraction of that. So we just have to really focus our time properly. And I'm telling you, since I started doing this spiritual fitness plan, I personally have found that my time is so much better spent because I'm so much more focused on my plan. So the question, the last thing I'll ask you about step 5 is just, your time is yours. It's no one else's. Someone else is going to decide your life for you if you don't. So this is your life. How are you going to spend your time? What do you want out of this experience? What do you want out of your life? And then do it. Write it down, and it's a priority, and you schedule it in first. Okay, the last step that I'm going to tell you today is step 6. Now that we're so clear, we've handled the objections of our inner negative voice, we do have the time or the money or the energy, because ultimately when you have to spend those resources, you do it on the priorities. So now that you have your priorities, you have your clarity, you have your resources, you have your inspiration, now what? Now you need to build your plan. What's the plan? So I don't know if you're familiar, there's a very famous acronym for accomplishing goals called SMART. SMART, S for specific, M for measurable, A for attainable, R for realistic, and T for timely. I was going to talk about them, but I really felt like this month is so much more powerful than SMART goals. It's so much bigger than that. We can think so much bigger. So I actually created a new acronym. If you want to be changed from where you are now to where you want to go, and we all do, because if you're not going up, you're going down. So what do you want it to be? The acronym is changed. C in changed is control. Is this in your control? This thing that you want to change, is it in your control truly? I'll give you an example. Let's say you really want to have a good relationship with your parents, and you have a horrible relationship with your parents, and they're abusive people. So the fact that they're abusive, that's not in your control. You cannot change your parents. You cannot change your spouse. You can't even change your kids. It's hard enough to change ourselves. So all we can do is control our response. So just be very aware of what is in my control when you're creating this goal for yourself. Changed, H. The next thing I'm going to say is huge. It's the opposite of specific and small, and I know it might even be hard to hear, but who is going to think big for us if we don't think big for ourselves? You know, the woman who created Spanx, which is this billion-dollar company, Sarah Blakely, she was poor and had no business knowledge. She's now a billionaire and sits next to people like Warren Buffett in interviews. And she says that the reason she puts down to being as successful as she is, as quickly as she became, was because she had no idea about her limitations. She didn't know you weren't supposed to do this thing so quickly, and you weren't supposed to hire these kinds. She just thought big. She wanted to accomplish big, and it actually ended up serving her better because she didn't listen to the people in stuffy suits telling her why it's not possible. She just did it. And she ended up shocking the world and proving a lot of people wrong about even the business world itself, from a woman who with almost no education in business. It's unbelievable. So huge. Think big. Do not sell yourself short. Okay? And change the A, action. Do something. Don't make it stuck in your head. Don't make it stuck in your mouth. Do something. Put your money where your mouth is. It has to happen. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. No one's going to do it for you. I wish I could do it for you, but I can't. I have my own stuff to deal with. So that's the A. N, now. Don't do it tomorrow. Don't do it next week. Don't do it after the weekend. Do it right now. The G is goal sharing. For me, this is a tough thing to talk about, because sometimes when you're sharing a goal, you become more accountable and people are so supportive and loving. Other times when you share a goal, if it's with the wrong kind of people, you might end up feeling like people are being negative or judgmental. So all I'm going to say about goal sharing is be aware of it and make sure it's serving you well. Is sharing going to be a good option, or is not sharing going to be a good option? And just ask yourself the question before you proceed. Okay, E, because we're on changed, past tense, we've already changed, is emotional well-being. Where are you going to be flexible? Where are you going to give yourself reward? Where are you going to give yourself recognition? I mean, this is embarrassing, but when I serve my kids dinner on a weeknight, and it's like a good, homemade, nice dinner, the kind of dinner that I'd be like proud to serve to my children, you know, and if they're just eating it and enjoying it, like, thanks, but like not a big deal to them, I'm like, do you know what mommy should get? Mommy should get a Mommy of the Year award for this dinner. And they literally look at me like I'm crazy, but that's okay, because I need that for myself. I just need to be able to say to myself some sort of recognition that I took the time out of my crazy day to make them a beautiful dinner. And yes, they say thank you, and yes, they enjoy it. But for me, it's big. It's my way of nurturing them and my symbol of love for them that they can't possibly understand at the young age that they're in. So whatever you need for you, the recognition, the reward, the flexibility, you have to emotionally tailor it to you and make sure your emotional well-being is taken care of. That's the E in changed. And the last letter is the D, dependable. You need to be consistent. And if you're not going to be consistent, then you're not going to see the results that you want to see. Abraham, the patriarch, he was one of the kindest people to ever live. He is known for his kindness and hospitality. God asked him to sacrifice his own child. I mean, for a normal human being, that would be painful, but for him, it must have been just absolute torture. And the verse says that he woke up early. He was wasting no time. And we know about him that he went quickly and he didn't think about it too much, because if when you think about it, you can psych yourself out. He was dependable. He could be counted on, and it didn't matter why or what. I do want to tell you on a personal level from myself, two things that I didn't share yet about my own fitness plan. One is that, you know, these ideas were very painful for me because I realized I messed up. Like, for example, I have a very close friend who I always, you know, I had a difficult pregnancy and I had a lot of job changes and a lot going on in my life, and I wasn't really able to give a lot of time to friendships. And one of my very close friends was really upset about it, and I felt like this person should support me because I'm going through a hard time. And then after hearing this thing about the time management and how our priorities are our priorities, and whoever doesn't make it into a water heater category means that they're not our priority, for better and for worse, it's like a painful mirror up to myself when I realized, wow, I really had a hand in this situation. I really have work to do in this space with this person. It also, on the flip side, it fuels me. Like, I am working and I have young kids at home, and there's so many things I want for myself. I want to think big. I want to impact the world in a positive way. How am I going to do it with the time that I have? So it really fuels me. And I'll just end with this before we get into the health info. The Talmud talks about this man, Shimon ben Lakish. He's known as the Reish Lakish. And he was smart and strong and a leader. And he was the leader of street bandits, and they were criminals. And this righteous, pious, learned man named Rabbi Yochanan ben Napacha was bathing in the Jordan. So the story goes, and he's watching the Reish Lakish and his street bandit group doing all these horrible things. And he yells over to him, and this isn't like a comical, but like, I wish I had been a fly on the wall in this story. He says to him, to Reish Lakish, he says, "Your strength is for Torah," meaning your strength, your good things about you, it's for good, not what you're doing now. And the Reish Lakish, this is why I feel like it's a little bit comical, he responds right away. And Rabbi Yochanan ben Napacha, I guess, was an attractive man. And he says to Rabbi Yochanan, "Your beauty, it's for women." So, I mean, that part's a little bit funny, this exchange. Their chemistry is already on point. But Rabbi Yochanan hears him say, "Your beauty is for women." And he realizes this is a man who is motivated by physical beauty. And Rabbi Yochanan had a sister who was also very beautiful and looked like him. And he said, "All my sister wants is someone who's pious and learned. If you use your strength for Torah, if you become pious and learned, you can marry my sister who's a beautiful woman, because she would want to marry a man like you." And Reish Lakish, he drops his lifestyle, his awful lifestyle as a street bandit, and he learns, it says about him that he studied Mishnah, he studied these special verses 40 times before he would even learn it from his teacher, Rabbi Yochanan, who was at that point his brother-in-law. Okay, this horrible street bandit taught us beautiful ideas about the Torah. I'm just going to tell you really, really quickly the 3 sentences that show how incredible this man ended up becoming. He said in the Talmud in Shabbat 119b, "The world exists only by virtue of the breath of little children studying Torah." So anybody who values the education of children knows how, and the values that we integrate into our children. We watch terrorists put their values into their children, and how we want to put the values into our children, and we know that it's creating the world that we're about to live in. He also says that God does not punish Israel unless he has prepared the remedy beforehand. This is one of the biggest foundational things. It's called Refuah Lifnei Hamaka. The biggest foundational idea is that we have a remedy always before we have a problem. And the last thing he said that I want to quote to you is, "A person does not commit a sin unless a spirit of temporary insanity has taken over him." This is basically saying that people are essentially good, and it's only when something insane comes over them that they stop being good. Okay, I'm sorry if I went over time, but I just wanted to share what beauty, what incredible strength and intelligence came out of this street bandit. Imagine for us, we're not street bandits, I hope. Imagine what we are capable of providing to the world if we put our mind to it. Since I've gone so long, I just want to make sure that you have this information that I want you to have with health, because it has changed my life in a positive way. I'm gonna put this video on my YouTube on my YouTube channel, and I will put a document, a link in the YouTube video's description. You are going to find this week's menu plan, grocery list, and recipes that go along with it that I am going to be using this week and that have worked for me to help me lose weight and stay fit and feel strong and feel energetic. I hope it works for you. For this month, this Jewish new month of Elul, I just want to put it out there that I'm very happy to speak to anyone for free of charge on the phone or in writing, no charge at all. This is just something that I want to really do for the people of the world who want to get better and work at themselves. Okay? Good luck, everybody. Wish me luck too. Or daven for me. Pray for me. Bye.